And 8:34, everybody, you know, Bronx residents, they are facing a record number of evictions. The borough has the second highest eviction filings across the state of New York.
Yeah, so here to talk about what's being done to help residents in the Bronx is Bronx Borough President Vanessa Gibson. So thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
In the studio.
Yes.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
A lot of Zooms.
Yes, I know.
We're done with the Zooms.
Beautiful studio, renovated,
Yes,
brand new,
thank
love
you.
it.
Yeah. So let's take a look at the numbers here, because according to a data dashboard developed by Cornell University, nearly 10% of the residents in the Bronx are facing evictions. That's more than 100,000 people. What are you doing about that?
So we believe affordable housing is a fundamental right, and during the pandemic, many families in the Bronx lost their income and fell behind in rent. And the state started the ERAP program, and that was a great way to support families that were behind in rent and owed significant amounts of rent arrears. But remember, the unaffordability of our city continues to grow, and with stagnant wages, many families are still behind. So even 3 years after the pandemic, as more residents are returning to work, they're still behind in rent. Their rent burden, spending more than 30% of their income towards rent. That's why you all remember in 2017, when I was a council member with Mark Levine, we started the Right to Counsel initiative that became law in the city of New York, the first in the country. And now what we're seeing in 2023, 6 years later, is that it works. 84% of the families that have a legal representation facing eviction actually get their apartments, and they are prevented from an eviction. And that's a good thing, it works. What we're trying to do is work with OCA, Office of Court Administration, right now and calendar a lot of the cases where tenants are facing eviction without a lawyer. We want Right to Counsel to be fully implemented. We're having trouble hiring staff, as you know, supervisors, and we're seeing over 200,000 evictions in New York City, predominantly northern Manhattan, the Bronx, and parts of Brooklyn and Southeast Queens.
You know, looking at what's happening in Albany right now, kind of play out with the budget, a big thing that's holding up the budget is affordable housing.
Right.
And bail reform.
Yes.
So where do you stand on both of those issues and what's being negotiated in the budget?
So, of course, I always support efforts to create more affordable housing, pathways to the middle class, home ownership opportunities. Also, good cause eviction is also up for debate as well, and that's legislation that's been championed by Senator Brian Kavanaugh and others. And I want to make sure that tenants have a fundamental right to affordable, quality, safe, stable housing. It is a right afforded by everyone, regardless of where you live, your zip code. And we know that there are good landlords out there. We want to support them. The good landlords don't get a fair shake. They are lumped in with everyone else that abuses tenants and takes advantage. People are seeing prices go up. They're seeing displacement. They're seeing gentrification happening across their neighborhoods. Neighborhoods are changing. And so we believe that Governor Kathy Hochul's proposal around housing across the state is great. Yes, New York City needs affordable housing, but so do all of the other counties in our state. And we have to have these conversations. We can't have a NIMBY attitude as if we don't want new people in our community, because people bring revenue, they bring jobs, they support businesses, they, transition into our communities, into our local schools, our parks, our playgrounds. They're family, they're New Yorkers, and that's what we want to see. And I know bail reform is always a constant controversial topic, but I've heard from many of our New Yorkers, and they do want to see changes because they do want to make sure that at the end of the day, they're safe and their families are safe.
Yeah, it's very scary, especially as we face a possible recession. We want to switch gears a little bit because there's a lot we want to cover this morning.
Okay.
So last week, the shooting involving the NYPD and the Bronx man who was suffering from a mental breakdown. How much more needs to be done to address mental illness?
We can no longer stigmatize mental health and the continuum of mental health care. We have to embrace it in a real balanced and responsible way. There are many New Yorkers that are mentally unstable that need help. Many of them are unsheltered, they're homeless, they're living in homes, and we need to support them. I remember during the de Blasio administration, we launched the first aid mental health trainings for not-for-profits and many others. We have the Narcan that's available to prevent overdoses. But what we launched back in 2021 that I believe is successful are Be Heard teams. They are social workers and clinicians that respond to 911 calls of those persons in mental distress. We used to call them EDP. When a call goes into 911, instead of uniformed police officers responding to medical calls, it would be clinicians, psychiatrists, social workers. The Be Heard team is in phases. In the Bronx is in the South Bronx, the 40, 42, 44, and the 47 precinct. Where this unfortunate incident happened was the 5-2. So we're asking Mayor Adams and the Department of Health team to look at expanding Be Heard in the 5-2, because again, this father called because he needed help. He didn't expect the police officers to shoot his son. he had a weapon, and the police have to protect themselves. But we also know that these individuals need help. And when New Yorkers call, they expect a response, and it should be a mental health clinician response and not a law enforcement response.
Yeah. Thank you for explaining that, and hopefully that does become widespread.
Absolutely.
I want to talk about what's happening in the Bronx when it comes to specific things like movie theaters and bookstores,
yes.
right? Because that all factors into so much of what we're talking about, right? But it's almost like a desert when it comes to bookstores. There's only one right now, and that's on Alexander Avenue, the Lit Bar, right?
Bar.
How do you kind of, I mean, I know bookstores overall may be kind of being phased out in some communities, but how do you get more of things like that? Because those are staples community centers where people can also go and spend time and talk to each other, pick up a book.
I was disappointed when we lost Barnes & Nobles in Co-op City and Bay Plaza, but we have started conversations again with Barnes & Nobles, and there seems to be an appetite to possibly return to the Bronx. So we're meeting with leadership there. And then I also think that, yes, bookstores are just like libraries. People need them. They're staples in our community. And Lit Bar, Noelle Santos does amazing work. She had Mary J. Blige there last week as she launched her children's book. And so she's the first. But we also have other entrepreneurs that have launched mobile bookstores, which are great. And we want to give them attention and amplify their voices. But we know the big, large chains are really not looking at the Bronx, and we have to change that. We have to get people to look at the Bronx in a favorable way. We have to change the narrative. I often say we're on the cusp of a new renaissance, a cultural revolution, boosting tourism, creating pathways to the middle class, supporting good paying jobs so people have stability, right? And movie theaters, I think everyone has Netflix these days, and so many other outlets where they're watching movies. And people ask me, what do you think? We have 2 movie theaters left. We used to have Lowe's. We have movie theaters all over the Bronx, and they've all closed. And so people are looking at, well, what does the new 2023 version of movie theaters look like? So I'm trying to hold on to the 2 we have and look at opportunities to create more.
But you know, you do have bringing everyone to the Bronx. You got the Yankees.
Yes. Right. So we started the season, and we won the first game, 5-zip.
Let's do it.
Yes,
right.
New York Yankees.
Thanks so much for being with us this morning. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I have an idea, a movie theater bookstore combo.
Oh.
Yankee Stadium?
Yeah, Yankee Stadium. There you go.
8:41. All right.